all across America and around the world. This is Veterans Radio. This is Veterans Radio.
Welcome to Veterans Radio. I am Jim Fausone. I'm the officer of the deck today. We've got some great programs for you. I think you'll find very interesting. We always want to remind you can find more about Veterans Radio at its Facebook site or by going to veteransradio.net, where we're on the web 24/7. You can find a lot of our podcasts there as well. We post new ones every Tuesday, so you can get a new story, a new interview, something you didn't know before by going to veteransradio.net. And before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors. First up, we want to thank National Veteran Business Development Council, nvbdc.org. It was established to certify both service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses. You'll find out how they can help your business by going to nvbdc.org. We want to thank Legal Help for Veterans. Legal Help for Veterans fights for veterans' disability rights all across the nation. You can reach them at 800-693-4800 or on the web at legalhelpforveterans.com. We want to welcome to Veterans Radio, or back, I should say, to Veterans Radio, Michael Harris, President of the Michigan Paralyzed Veterans of America. Michael, welcome back to Veterans Radio.
Well, thank you for having me, Jim. It's always enjoyable to be on your show.
Well, Michigan PVA and nationally is really a leader in a lot of areas for veterans who've suffered, paralyzing injuries, either while in combat or in service or afterwards. And really, you guys have been at the forefront of advocating all kinds of improvements to make a better quality of life. And it caught my eye that a recent law was signed in by the president called Advancing Uniform Transportation Opportunities for Veterans Act, also known as Auto for Veterans Act. And I thought, who better to explain what this is about than my friend Mike Harris? So, Mike, tell us what the Auto for Veterans Act does.
Well, it's crazy. When the president signed it on January 9th of this year, you're always at first shocked because this is really, we've been going to, I go to D.C. every year to advocate on issues important to our membership. And this has been a point paper for at least 10 years for us. So it doesn't, we've learned over the years that something doesn't happen right away, that you just have to continue your due diligence and stay on top of it. And eventually things will work out in your favor. And we were happy to see that the president signed this legislation. And what happened prior to the legislation is that a veteran received a one-time benefit of $22,000 towards the purchase of their vehicle if they were 100% disabled, like our members were, with a spinal cord injury and or disease, which requires the use of a wheelchair for mobility. So I was shocked it was only a one-time benefit. Especially living here in Michigan, our roads, how bad they are. The vehicle's life expectancy, if we're lucky, is 10 years. And so we've been advocating for this for a long time to increase that to every 10 years. And so what happened is that because they wanted to make it cost neutral, they decided to compromise. And so the first grant will go out to our members who applied for 30 years or longer, which most of our members will still qualify for the grant. And then it will phase into veterans every 10 years will eventually be able to get this grant going forward. And the amount's going to be about the same, about $22,300. And it will also define the types of equipment, specialized equipment that the grant can be applied for. So they've changed the definition of medical services. So it's really a win for us and for our members, and we very grateful to the president and we had bipartisan support in both the House and Senate, and so we're very thankful that this came about.
Well, this is one of those things where, and you mentioned it, it had to be cost neutral, so it doesn't go all the way, but as far as it should. But that's pretty much true with legislation, as you've experienced over the years anyway. And I think for those who don't realize what modified vehicles are about for those with mobility problems and the cost of it, I mean, $22,000 is not going to go very far when the cost of modifying a vehicle, say a van that you have to pull a wheelchair, powerized wheelchair into, it can be like $80,000 on that vehicle, can it?
Yeah, even though the veteran, they do, and I believe it's called the Special Adapted Equipment Grants, for service related, they get the conversion items whenever they do purchase a new vehicle. And that, as you said, that can be quite expensive. I'm in the process of purchasing a new vehicle myself this year, and my injury is not service connected. I was hurt under Michigan no fault, so they pay for the conversion just like the VA does for our members who are service related. And my costs are going to be about $40,000 just for me, and that doesn't include the cost of the vehicle.
Right. That's what I was trying to get to. That's the conversion price, not the vehicle price.
Yeah. So, and vehicle costs are constantly going up, and as we know, living here in Michigan, our roads are not designed or to make for longevity when it comes to a vehicle. We have to constantly replace the vehicle because of the damage the roads conditions over time has on the vehicle.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And again, this now will allow, over the passage of time, you to apply for more than one grant, which is a big difference from the prior legislation. And this grant is going to be available to veterans who have loss or loss of permanent use of one or both feet, hands, if they have certain vision problems, if they have certain severe burn injuries, ALS. So there's a variety of things other than spinal cord injuries that will qualify you for this particular grant, as I understand it. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, that is correct. The only negative or frustration, you know how the government works. So even though the president signed this, it doesn't mean you can go out tomorrow to get this. The VA still has to implement this, and you know how sometimes they can drag their feet on implementing new policies.
Sure.
But we're hopeful that this, to me, is such a clear-cut change. It's not like long-term care, the Mission Act, which had all kinds of issues associated with that this will be clear-cut, and it shouldn't take them long at all to implement the changes.
Yeah, and let's hope that's the case. And indeed, this is for service-connected disabilities that cause that mobility limitation and where you need the adaptive vehicle. And Mike, a lot of these programs have a cap, a dollar cap per year, so not everybody who wants to get in can get in. I think I saw somewhere that the Congressional Budget Office estimated the cost of this legislation over the 10-year period will be something like $43 million, which in the big scheme of things doesn't seem like that much. Do you know if this program is going to have like an annual limit of how many veterans can get these mobility grants?
Yeah, that's the $40,000 question, because as you know, things are still being worked out by the VA, and it seems like sometimes they interpret legislation differently than what it was intended to be, and they take their own factors into it. And with my experience with them, but you will be right. There probably will be caps put on it at first, and hopefully that isn't the case. I get frustrated when they use the excuse funding when we're talking about veterans in this country. We've had this discussion before where I think there are issues. We should prioritize funding when it comes to benefits that are needed because of their service to this country. The cost should never be a factor.
Yeah, amen on that. Because it is the VA and it's going to be a VA program, there's undoubtedly going to be a form you have to fill out, right?
Yeah, you'll do what you currently do for the current program. Go to your service officer. Depending if you're with, like you can always contact our organization, and I will be happy to leave our contact info when we're done, and talk to a service officer, and they can give you the details on how you can fill out the forms, especially if you're already a member of a veteran service organization. It really should speed up the process if you want to go ahead and implement the changes that will benefit you going forward.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was hoping you'd go, which is recommend to folks that they get back to their service officer with any of the national organizations or their county counselor, whoever's been helping them. And again, these are 100% disabled veterans. There's really no question here. But as we all know, these VA forms get confusing. And if you fill them out wrong, you either get disqualified or you get put at the back of the list. So it's important to have some help, I think, with filling out any of these forms, and particularly something as important like this. And I think that's what I hear you saying to Michael Harris, president of Michigan PVA.
Yeah,
hey, get help. Don't do it yourself.
Yeah, no, we've heard the horror stories over the years when people try to cut corners, because we're all impatient. We want to get it done yesterday. We don't want to wait for the process to work itself out. But it's important that you do it correctly, because when you do make mistakes, then it really adds time to that really wasn't necessary. If you had taken the due diligence to fill out the paper correctly or the forms correctly.
Well, I know you do go annually, and you've been doing it for decades to Washington, D.C. to advocate for veterans with disabilities. So you can finally scratch this request off the list. But there's no shortage of other things, is there?
No, I leave in 6 weeks. My one pet peeve, and I'm going to ask them, it's still a point paper, is veterans with ALS. You probably, they don't live long after they're diagnosed. It's 100% disability. And in order for some part of the benefit to go to the spouse, they have to have lived at least 7 or 8 years, I believe it is. And they don't meet that threshold. And this is still, it's been a point paper for about 7 years now. And I just shake my head that what am I missing here that this cannot be resolved? I'm hearing cost again, but you're doing a disservice to the veteran and what he's done for our country when you're using that as your justification.
Yeah, nobody would say out loud you're going to die fast enough. We're not going to give any benefits to your.
It's almost like they're wishing for it to happen, so they don't have to pay for it.
Well, we know that's a bad idea right there. So,
so that's the frustration. You go every year with some of these point papers, because some of they've been point papers for years, and people would be amazed what actions speak louder than words, as I've always believed that, and so people, for anyone listening, you need to let your legislators know that veteran benefits is a sacred right that we have to our veterans, and that they should be honored.
And don't use the excuse of we don't have enough money, because my goodness, the amount of money the federal government has that comes in and it wastes is amazing. Now, Michael, you said at the outset that you were going to give us some information to our listeners if they wanted to know some more about these vehicle grants and financial assistance, or just issues in general that might be being advocated by PVA. Can you give them a website that they should look to and maybe how to reach you?
Yeah, our website is Michigan, spell Michigan now, PVA for Paralyzed Veteran America.org. So MichiganPVA.org. Our number is 248-476-9000. That's 248-476-9000. Our office hours are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. That's the same for our service office out of Detroit. If you contact us, we'll give you all the contact info that you might need. And remember that we not only help veterans, but we help people who are non-veteran. Because a lot of the issues that non-veterans have, we have relationships with different nonprofit organizations throughout the state. And so we're able to assist them in identifying, supports that might be out there to help them with their particular issue.
And I would remind people, if you're listening to this and you're not in the state of Michigan because you're hearing our broadcast on another station or on the internet, the national PVA is equally as helpful. And if you reach out to Michigan PVA, they'll point you in the right direction. And there may be a PVA office in your particular state, depending on the size of the population. I don't think they're in all 50 states, are they, Mike?
No, and you can go to PVA's website, pva.org. And it will direct you to the chapter that covers your area. We have 33 chapters throughout the United States. And our national office is really the first place to contact if you're not sure, and they then can lead you in the right direction.
Well, we always appreciate the information that we get from Michael Harris, president of the Michigan PVA. This is a really timely issue. It's a big step forward for how we address veterans with service-connected disabilities that really impinge on their mobility, and they need vehicle assistance, financial assistance to get their vehicles modified. So this is a good step forward. And Mike, thanks for coming on and kind of explaining it all to us.
Well, Jim, thank you. And just want to, on behalf of our organization, thank you for all the great work you do for veterans and your wife.
Thanks. I'll pass it along to the general. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everybody for listening to Veterans Radio today. I am Jim Fausone. It's been a pleasure to be your host. I'm a veterans disability lawyer at Legal Help for Veterans, and you can reach us at 800-693-4800 or legalhelpforveterans.com on the web. You can follow Veterans Radio on Facebook and listen to its podcasts and internet radio shows by going to veteransradio.net. And until next time, you are dismissed.
If you have a VA claim denied by the Board of Veterans' Appeals, contact Legal Help for Veterans at 1-800-693-4800. They're experts in handling cases before the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. Their number again, 1-800-693-4800.
We again want to thank our national sponsors, the National Veterans Business Development Council, nvbdc.org, VA Ann Arbor Health Care System, the Vietnam Veterans of America Charles S. Kettles Chapter, Ann Arbor, Michigan, VFW Graf O'Hara Post 423 in Ann Arbor, and the American Legion Press Corn Post 46, also in Ann Arbor. We appreciate all your support. You can go to veteransradio.net, click on the sponsor level, and continue to support keeping Veterans Radio on the air. And until next time, you are dismissed.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.